Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Dhanyavad pranam. We are there. Hare Krishna. Stand up with this. About a few seconds, I'm trying to connect myself with it. I want to plug my iPad. Actually, I missed out. Oh, because I have to transfer all this things. Please, few seconds. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Please. See my cup of tea here. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Itinami Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Prashadine Nirvisesa Sungavati Ashatya Desa Tarini Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada Jai Gaura Haribo 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 Gaura Haribo Jai Gaura Haribo Haribo Gaura Haribo Jai Srila Prabhupada ki Jai Bhakti Sastri ki Jai Gaura Premanande Hare Krishna. Yes, please, you are welcome to today's session of our Bhakti Sastri program. And in our last session, we are attending to the questions of Arjuna as to how a Sthita Muni, a self-realized soul, how it walks, how he speaks, and how he does things, his characteristics. So towards the end, we came to the point that Krishna answered the last questions of the Sthita Muni. And the answer is that a person who has given up, a person who is not disturbed by the incessant flow of desires, because that question is, how does it work? And we're saying that it's not that you use your leg to walk to the temple. How does it walk to the temple? How does it work from? It means that how does he respond to the demands of the senses? That is the meaning of how does it work? How does a self-realized soul respond to the agitations of the senses? So the answer was given in verse 71 and 72, or 70, 71, then 72, he nailed it. In 70, said, a person who is not disturbed by the incessant flow of desires that enter like rivers into the ocean, which is ever being filled, but is always still, can alone achieve peace, and not the man who strives to satisfy such desires. That means a self-realized soul does not anchor to trying to fulfill the desires of the senses. It controls the senses. When the tongue says go to some 5 junction and look at the chicken that is rolling in the mirror, in the glass, whatever they call it, glass case. He said no. This is boga. This is the carcass of another living entity. Instead, he wants to eat vegetarian food that are first offered to Krishna. So it controls his senses. When he sees a beautiful girl, say the senses will dictate that go after this girl. You can get her. It's free. He said no. No, she's not my wife. So it controls his senses. It controls his senses. It practices regulated life. And because he's practicing regulated life, not bringing the senses in contact with their objects as they desire, he becomes peaceful. He becomes peaceful. Only him can attain peace. not the one who strives to satisfy the urges of the senses. So sense control is the beginning of spiritual life. Mind and sense control, the beginning of spiritual life. Anyone who wants to be successful in spiritual life must start with sense and mind control. How to do that, Krishna is giving us. Then Krishna said that a person who has given up all desires for sense gratification, who lives free from desires, who has given up all sense of proprietorship and is devoid of false ego, he alone can attain real peace. So the example of Maharaj Priyabhrata was given that although he behaved as a pious but worldly king, he was internally renounced and peaceful because his mind was fixed on the Supreme Personality of God. So in other words, we can do all kinds of duties, but we should internally be renounced. We should focus our attention on satisfying the Supreme Lord. Then we can be peaceful. Then Krishna concluded by highlighting that that is the way of spiritual and godly life, after attaining which a man is not good with that. If one is thus situated, even at the hour of death, one can enter into the kingdom of God. So this was concluded. Then we also pointed out that Krishna glorified the position of the Sthita Prajna. Krishna says it is glorious to be self and sense controlled. That many topics were discussed in the chapter 2. That in the chapter 2, we discussed about the Vedas, we discussed about the modes of material nature, we discussed about Kama Yoga, we discussed about Kama Kanda, we discussed about Jnana Kanda, Sankhya, Buddhi Yoga, Vedanta, the Atma, detachment, Samadhi, Sannyasi, and Bhakti Yoga. All these topics were touched. Therefore, the particular chapter is entitled The Contents of the Gita Summarized. So everything was touched. So Srila Prabhupada writes, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has summarized this second chapter of the Bhagavad-Gita as being the contents of the whole text. In Bhagavad-Gita, the subject matter are Kama Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga. In the second chapter, Kama Yoga and Jnana Yoga have been clearly discussed, and a glimpse of Bhakti has also been given as the contents of the complete text. So this brought us to the end of chapter 2, and we gave a principle that this particular chapter 2 is the summary of the whole Bhagavad-Gita. Therefore, it is worthwhile giving attention to it. It's very long, and it's a summary of the whole Bhagavad-Gita. That's why we spent time to discuss it elaborately. And we went further to quote the 80-20 principle, that 80% of our business is usually done with 20% of our customers. So it is logical that 80% of our time is invested in these 20% of viable customers. So that was why we gave a lot of time to discussing this particular chapter. And now, having said this, we come to Karma Yoga, chapter 3 of the Bhagavad Gita today, Karma Yoga. Yeah, in Bhagavad Gita 2:49, Krishna said, Durana hi avaram karma buddhi yogam dhananjaya. Keep all abominable activities far distant by devotional service. That means Buddhi Yoga. This instruction has confused Arjuna. Buddhi Yoga is also Bhakti Yoga, but it literally means the yoga of Buddhi or intelligence. So taking the meaning of Buddhi as intelligence, Krishna's order will mean that Arjuna, by the use of his intelligence, to avoid all abominable activities. So Krishna has even emphasized intelligence by using the word Buddhi 10 times in the final 30 verses of the second chapter. Out of the 72 verses, the last 30 verses of the second chapter, Krishna used the word Buddhi, 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 Buddhi 10 times, emphasizing that we should focus on Buddhi Yoga, Buddhi yoga. So Arjuna has become confused now because Krishna told him to do Kama yoga before. He's telling him to do Buddhi yoga, emphasizing on Buddhi yoga. Now Arjuna wanted to, in the guise of a devotee, avoid fighting, that he would prefer to do Buddhi yoga instead of Kama yoga. And the Kama yoga that involves fighting with his teachers and grandfathers and killing his relatives. He wanted to avoid Kama and go for Gyan or Buddhi. So here he's comparing Buddhi yoga and Kama yoga. And he mentioned the word Buddhi in the last 33 verse 10 times. No? So he was quite attached to the idea of not fighting, but instead he should perform Buddhi yoga, as Krishna said. But Krishna said no. Yes. Krishna said no. Arjuna, you should do Kama yoga. That for you, specifically your duty, your own by your nature, you should do this Kama yoga. This Kama I want you to do. This particular activity of fighting on the battlefield, I want you to do it. So this is where we are. Okay. So here we are going to see a lot. First of all, in the first 9 verses, the renunciation of work or work in devotion. These are the 2 questions. Should we renounce work according to Arjuna? They say, which one is better, to renounce work or to work in devotion? You told me to renounce work and you are telling me to work in devotion. So which one is better? Tell me precisely which one is better. So these are the questions by Arjuna, and Krishna is going to answer. So the first 9 verses deal with renunciation of work versus work in devotion. Then the second 6 or 7 verses talk about from what is Kama Kanda, how to graduate from Kama Kanda to Kama Yoga. That is in 7 verses. Then between verses 17 and 35, Kama Yoga or performing detached work to set example is contained in 19 verses. Krishna is about to perform detached work in order to set example. So the importance of acting for the purpose of setting example is elaborated in that section. Then between 36 and 43, then Krishna draw Arjuna's attention that it should beware. It should beware of lust. It should beware of lust and anger. So while doing this work, is to avoid lust and anger. So that brings us to the next verse there, or the next topic, or the first topic. Renunciation of work or work in devotion. So let's go to the text itself. Text 1. Arjuna Uvacha Jayasi Shes Karmanasta Mata Buddhi Janadana Tatkim Karmani Goremam Niyoyasi Kesava. Arjuna says, "Oh Janadana, oh Kesava, why do you urge me to engage in this ghastly warfare if you think that intelligence is better than fruitive work?" The purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has very elaborately described the constitution of the soul in the previous chapter with a view to deliver his intimate friend Arjuna from the ocean of material grief. And the path of realization has been recommended: Buddhi yoga or Krishna consciousness. Sometimes Krishna consciousness is misunderstood to be inertia, and one with such a misunderstanding often withdraws to a secluded place to become fully Krishna conscious by chanting the holy name of the Lord. But without being trained in the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, it is not advisable to chant the holy name of Krishna in a secluded place where one may acquire only cheap adoration from the innocent public. Arjuna also thought of Krishna consciousness or Buddhi yoga or intelligence in spiritual advancement of knowledge as, he thought of it as something like retirement from active life and the practice of penance and austerity at a secluded place. In other words, he wanted to skillfully avoid the fighting by using Krishna consciousness as an excuse. But as a sincere student, he placed the matter before his master and questioned Krishna as to his best course of action. In answer, Lord Krishna elaborately explained Karma Yoga or work in Krishna consciousness in this third chapter. So this third chapter, that is why it is entitled Karma Yoga. Arjuna wanted to avoid fighting. So Krishna used the opportunity to explain to him that you cannot avoid fighting. You should fight, but in the consciousness of renunciation. Fight as a service to me. So that is it. Why did Arjuna ask this question? That is encapsulated in the purpose. Arjuna thought of Krishna consciousness or Buddhi yoga or intelligence in spiritual advancement of knowledge as something like retirement from active life and the practice of penance and austerity at a secluded place. In other words, he wanted to skillfully avoid fighting by using Krishna consciousness as an excuse. But as a sincere student, he placed the matter before his master and questioned Krishna as to his best course of action. In answer, Krishna elaborately explained Karma Yoga or work in Krishna consciousness in the third chapter. So text 2. Text 2. Vyamisreneva vakena Buddhim mohayasivame tad ekam vadani shitya yena shreyam apnoyam. My intelligence is bewildered by your equivocal instructions. Therefore, please tell me decisively what is most beneficial for me. Somebody should read the purport.
In the previous chapter, as prelude to the Bhagavad-Gita, many different paths were explained, such as Sankhya Yoga, Buddhi Yoga, control of the senses by intelligence, work without fruitive desire, and the position of the neophyte. This was all presented unsystematically. A more organized outline of the path would be necessary for action and understanding. Arjuna therefore wanted to clear up these apparently confusing matters so that any common man could accept them without misinterpretation. Although Krishna had no intention of confusing Arjuna by any jugglery of words, Arjuna could not follow the process of Krishna consciousness, either by inertia or by active service. In other words, by his questions, he is clearing the path of Krishna consciousness for all students who seriously want to understand the mystery of the Bhagavad-Gita. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So you got it clear? Arjuna was apparently in confusion and asking these questions, not for himself, but for the sake of people who are coming. So it's part of his devotional service to those who are coming. So it's very clear. that Arjuna's misunderstanding that karma or work and jnana, knowledge, that one is not the body, aren't compatible. Request, third Kambada, please tell me only one thing. Please tell me only one thing. Third Kambada, please tell me only one thing. Because by this, telling me that, you are confusing me. So Srila Prabhupada purport explained that although Krishna had no intention of confusing Arjuna by any jugglery of words, Arjuna could not follow the process of Krishna consciousness either by inertia or by active service. In other words, by his questions, he is clearing the path of Krishna consciousness for all students who seriously want to understand the mystery of the Bhagavad-Gita. So Krishna will begin answering Arjuna's question by explaining the following 7 verses, 3 to 9, the defects of his desire to renounce his duty. So the following 7 verses, Krishna will explain the defects, that it is defective for Arjuna to think of avoiding action in Krishna consciousness and trying to take to renunciation. So Krishna will explain the defects of renouncing one's duty. So it's okay. Verse 3, Krishna will start to speak now. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Lokayasmi Dvivida Nista Pura Prokta Mayanaga Jnana Yogena Sankyanam Kama Yogena Yoginam. The Blessed Lord said, O sinless Arjuna, I have already explained that there are 2 classes of men who realize the self. Some are inclined to understand him by empirical philosophical speculation, and others are inclined to know him by devotional service. This poem is very long, so we are not going to read it.
Why? Why we are not going to read it?
The poem is very long. If we are to read every purport, then we are going to stay here. We will not go anywhere before the time will elapse. That is why. But we have a way to summarize it.
Because there is a lot of points there.
Okay, if you want us to read it, okay, let's read it. You read it. Read it for us.
In the second chapter.
In the second chapter, verse 39, the Lord explained 2 kinds of procedures, namely Sankhya Yoga and Karma Yoga, or Buddhi Yoga. In this verse, the Lord explained the same more clearly. Sankhya Yoga, or the analytical study of the nature of spirit and matter, is the subject matter for persons who are inclined to speculate and understand things by experimental knowledge and philosophy. The other class of men work in Krishna consciousness, as it is explained in 61st verse of the second chapter. The Lord has explained also in 39th verse that by working by the principles of Buddha Yoga or Krishna consciousness, one can relieve from the bonds of actions. And furthermore, there's no flaws in process. The same principles is more clearly explained in 61st verse, that this Buddhi Yoga is to depend entirely on the Supreme, or more specifically on Krishna. And in this way, all senses can be brought under control very easily. Therefore, both the yogas and independent are religion and philosophy. Religion without philosophy is sentiment, or sometimes fantasism. Where philosophy without religion is mental speculation, the ultimate goal is Krishna, because the philosophers who are also sincerely searching after the absolute truth come in the end to the Krishna consciousness. This is also stated in Bhagavad-Gita. The whole process is to understand the real position of the self in relation to the superself. The indirect process is philosophical speculation, by which gradually one may come to the point of Krishna consciousness. And the other process is directly connecting everything with Krishna in Krishna consciousness. Of these two, the path of Krishna consciousness is better because it does not depend on purifying the senses by philosophical process. Krishna consciousness is itself the purifying process, and by direct method of devotional service, it is simultaneously easy and sobering. Srila Prabhupada key.
Joy. So, religion without philosophy is mere sentimentalism, and philosophy without religion is mental speculation. Yes, both are interdependent as religion and philosophy. Religion without philosophy is sentiment or sometimes fanaticism, while philosophy without religion is mental speculation. So these are two ends of the continuum, two ends of their opposite polarity, religion and philosophy. Okay? In this case, religion and philosophy are like mutually exclusive, two opposite ends of the same thing. There are two extremes, you see, but there should be a middle point. There should be a middle point. In this case, religion means karma, activities, okay? And philosophy means gyan. So if you go by activities without sufficient knowledge, you cannot achieve the desired result. And if you just go by knowledge without practice, without activity, without practice, it's theory. So there should be a synthesis. In other words, religion and philosophy are antithetic. One is the antithesis of the other. Philosophy is the antithesis of religion, or jnana is the antithesis of karma. One end is jnana, the other end is karma. That means as if they cannot mix, as if they are mutually exclusive, that the presence of one means the absence of the other. So both extremes are not good. So you have to come to a contingency, a middle point. And that is the synthesis. The synthesis of jnana and karma is bhakti. Bhakti or niskama karma yoga. It is the synthesis. It brings the two together. So there should be religion with philosophy. Okay? So Arjuna should understand the philosophy that is not this body, it's a spirit soul. But that alone is not enough. And also work alone without philosophy is not enough. So there should be work with philosophy. There should be an understanding, a harmony, a meeting point between the two. How to work with a philosophical understanding that you are not this body but a spirit soul. That is the synthesis. That is bhakti. That is what Krishna wants Arjuna to do. You cannot give up work. And you cannot hide under philosophy and say you are not working. You should work, but with philosophical understanding about the nature of yourself and your relationship with the super self. So even though you are working, you should not be attached to the fruit of your work. Offer the fruits of your work as yoga to the Supreme. This is what Krishna wants Arjuna to do. He wants Arjuna to work, but not to be attached to the result. It should work as an offering to the Supreme Lord. And if you are working like that, you will not be entangled by the reactions of your work. There will be no karma bandhana. You will not be entangled. And this is what Krishna wants him to do. Work without attachment to the result. work but offer the result to me. This is called niskama. Niskama karma. In other words, you do the work and offer the result to me. I take the karma, the reaction I absorb the reaction, and you will get the credit for working. You take the yoga, I take the karma. This is what Krishna is telling us. It is very clear, simple, and clear that the two extremes are not good. No work and philosophy should not be two opposite things. You should be able to bring them together. You should work but with the philosophical understanding that you are not this body, you are a soul, part and parcel of God. Therefore, your work should be to please the Supreme. The hand should work just to satisfy the stomach. You should work and send the food to the stomach. You should not try to eat the food by itself. And you should not stop working because the stomach is going to enjoy nothing. You should work as a matter of duty. Collect things, put things together as a unit of the body. Work for God's satisfaction. This is what Krishna wants Arjuna to do. And that is the purpose of this verse. Okay?
So, Pravudi,
yeah.
Excuse me, I don't know. How can somebody work without expecting any results? Even if the person did not expect anything, at least our first people, if somebody, does something for you, you want the person to appreciate you or even to say thank you or wonderful service you have rendered to me. So how can we, the conditional souls, detach or can work for the Lord without any results? I don't know if
there will be result, but you just do your part. This is what the Lord is saying. If you work for the result, that means to be ready to also receive the reaction. Because everyone produces some reaction if you are to be the one to enjoy the fruits. If you are working for your own enjoyment for fruits, that means to be ready to get the reaction also. Because there will be reaction for everyone, even if it is good work. But Krishna wants Arjuna to work as a matter of duty. He should work to satisfy God because that is his inherent nature, to work to satisfy him. So you don't separately expect. You will get results, but you don't separately focus on the result you are going to get. You focus on satisfying the Lord. Then when the Lord is satisfied, the overflow of his satisfaction will come to you also automatically. But your mindset should not be you are working for the fruits of God. You are only working to please Krishna, because if Krishna is pleased, automatically you will be pleased also.
The reason why I'm asking this, when we bring this issue into our daily devotional life, we normally hear from our senior devotees, we have suffered for this movement. When did you came? Do you know how we sacrifice? And now you people just came and see how you are doing. So even if we are working for the Lord, we are not expecting anything. Why sometimes we do make such pronunciation? I don't know, you get me?
Yeah, I get you. Yeah.
Because working for the Lord, we don't need any reward. But sometimes, because of we are with this material body and with our first ego, we want people to recognize us that indeed we are in charge or we did this.
You are giving the answer yourself. The person is not fully purified, understand? There's some ego sit there. So the ego pop out, bring himself up sometimes and register and go back again. This is not a strange thing. As long as we are still in this body, the ego is always coming up. But for those who are fully purified, that ego doesn't even come up at all. You see? So, but for those who are not fully cleansed, sometimes it comes up and it goes back. So it should not be a surprising thing as long as we are in this body. It's not everybody that is already transcendental to those ego inputs. Not everybody. But everybody is on the path. They are on the path, but they are not fully, the first ego is not fully gone. It's still there too, hiding. So whenever there is something to prick it, to stimulate it to come out and suppress itself, then after I realize that, hey, this thing is not yet gone, it's still there. So it's a matter of time. As long as it's there in the process, continue, it's also still practicing. You see, as long as it's there practicing, eventually the opportunity is there for you to arrive. Because when a mango is on the tree, all what you need to do is to remain on the tree. In due course of time, it will become ripe. Green mango will become ripe in due course of time. So even though he has been there, he has rendered a lot of services and is there. And when it is natural that when some young persons come and they behave anyhow, sometimes you'll be forced to remind them that, look, when did you come? Eh? This is something we have been sacrificing. The time we're performing this austerity, where were you? Eh? He's supposed not to say. He's supposed not to say, but as human beings are relating, the ego come up, then he say it. And sometimes saying it, we also check the other person as a matter of management. But that's not purely spiritual. You see? So these things are happening. And they're happening does not mean that that is how it's supposed to be. Understand? It is also an indication to him that you still have to work on yourself. That some ego is hiding somewhere. And this person's behavior has brought it out. So to show you that you are not fully free from this thing called false ego yet. You still have a lot of work to do on your own self. So it's not good for him. Okay? But it has come up to show yourself that I'm still inside you. You think you are free from me. You are not free. So circumstances bring out our ego that is hiding. That is why most of the time, let me tell you specifically, those devotees that do not talk to anybody, small time they are inside the altar. They hide inside the altar. They don't relate with anybody. Externally, people see them as very serious, advanced devotees because the altar work they are doing does not allow, they're supposed not to talk. They're supposed not to interact. They're supposed to remain like that. So they are there. You might think that they are very advanced. This devotee doesn't talk. It's always very serious. Bring him out to interact with other devotees. When he begins to live with other devotees, interact with them, you see that there's big false ego hiding. But he covers it. Okay? He covers it with all those non-talking works that do not allow him to talk. Is covering by cleansing it gradually. So for a man, his false ego is cleansed when he is given opportunity to associate with other devotees. If it is far away, it's not associating with devotees, you will not even know that he still has false ego. Like everybody is living in his house, they just come for Sunday program. After Sunday program, he goes away, everybody go away. You will not know that particular devotee has false ego. But when you bring them together, they start living together, eating together, waking up together, doing the same programs together, sleeping in the same place together, using the same bathroom. Then you will see the first ego that is hiding will now come up. So they said, those who are living in the center like that, they're like white cloths. Any little thing that is hidden, it will come out and everybody will see it. And it is also an arrangement by Krishna. So show him where his fault lies so that he can work on it. You see? So that is it. We are not completely free from Ahankara, Prabhu. We are working on it. And that is why from time to time, when we think that we are free from it, Krishna will arrange for it to come out so that we can see it and continue to intensify our work on it. That is why, Prabhu. But we are expected to work in a way that we are not attached to the result, the pure devotees. That's why the Stiradimuni is already a pure devotee. One who is able to behave perfectly. When his senses are provoked, he's able to control all of them and remain calm, equiposed. That means he has attained some level of purity. He's different from the sadhaka who is struggling to still work on himself. This one has arrived on a level of self-realization that is higher than this other one. So this is how it works. Okay? we are all on track to work on our forces.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Go, Ranga.
Please, I want to add up to what Prabhu Ramachandra was saying. But Prabhu, sometimes it's not everyone who has this knowledge, because sometimes if someone is doing something at the temple and you see maybe a senior devotee coming up chastising or maybe telling the person, like maybe what the person is doing is maybe, as Ram said, do you know when I came here, I said you should do this. Meanwhile, what the person is saying is wrong. And if that person is not in knowledge, the time we realize the person is gone for good. So probably, I don't know if probably we can, you can address that issue also, because not everybody who comes to the temple is of knowledge. So I don't know if, I'm just adding up to what the question Ramachandra asked.
Yeah.
So to that person, what can we do to the person?
The point is that, Prabhu, the point is that we have to be careful the way we relate with those who are coming for the first time. Maybe. Anybody that actually comes to the temple is being sent by the Parampara. Is not coming on his own. Is somehow or the other being sent to come and connect so that he can start his eternal journey. So the way we behave with them is very, very important, because by our egoistic behaviors, we can discourage the person and the person will go and not come back again. So it is a very big responsibility for those who are living inside to be sensitive to this. That's why most of the time also, when new people come, our approach attacking them for paraphernalia, this and that, speaking different philosophies other than pure devotional service, is also very risky. Understand? If somebody comes on his own and he brings himself that he needs certain things, you know that this is his level. You can give him some things if he says he needs, but you should add to let him realize that this is not the ultimate thing. The ultimate thing is pure devotional service. But since he needs this to boost, you give him the mood of trying to boost his morale, to give him encouragement. Then as he continues to come associate with devotees, do some services, purification will start taking place. So it is a big responsibility on our part to behave maturely to those who are coming. Understand? We should, if we continue like that, trying to impose ourselves on those who are coming, very soon you will see that they start going back. And that means you have failed the whole parampara. So this is what we need to do on ourselves. That's why even the temple, the devotees, those who are staying in the temple have to really be of very good standards. Otherwise, some very enthusiastic devotees, sincere and very enthusiastic devotees, after reading so many books, see that devotees are pure and they want to come and live among pure devotees. And when they come, they start seeing all kinds of movements and they get discouraged from there and turn back and say, you people are not serious. So there are so many, every one of us have the responsibility to act maturely and act exemplarily so that we do not discourage people by our own egoistic actions. Rather, we should encourage them by being exemplary. So it's a big work we need to do. We have to be very sensitive about it. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Madhusna Prabhu's hand is up.
Oh, okay.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Prabhuji.
Yes. I wanted to know how we can define that the pure devotional service.
Pure devotional service.
Yes, how we can define.
You want to define it?
No, how
Pure
we can
devotional
no,
service.
yes, this is our devotional service or not, because you know there everybody has a desire and to control is very difficult in this material world.
Yes.
So how we can make it the pure devotional service?
Pure devotional service is already defined as that which is devoid of karma and gyan. Pure devotional service is purely for the satisfaction of Krishna. You are doing services just to satisfy the Guru and Krishna. That is pure devotional service. Okay? So we know that that is pure devotional service, but we also know ourselves where we are individually. There is pure devotional service. There are people who are trying to practice pure devotional service. Among those who are practicing pure devotional service, some have become pure devotees already. Others are on the path of purity. Some are more situated in purity than others. But there are different levels of purity being attained. So as individual devotees, we should see ourselves as not pure devotee at all. Every one of us will see that we are not pure devotees. We are only trying to become pure devotees. We are endeavoring to become pure devotees. We see ourselves like that. Even the pure devotees, that is how they see themselves. They see themselves as the most fallen, while all others are more advanced than them. That's how the pure devotees see themselves. So when you think like that and you begin to act like that, you are advancing. That means one symptom of a pure devotee is that he becomes very humble. He removes himself from the center. Okay? So if you come around and you want to see pure devotees, first you should focus on Srila Prabhupada. Focus on Srila Prabhupada, how he lived his life. Then the gurus who are living exemplarily, how they are living their lives. Then the rest devotees, the rest of the devotees, you should see that you are also trying to become a pure devotee, because your own also is a call for you to become pure devotee, example for others. So you should see all of them as more advanced than you. That you are not advanced at all. So you try finding the fault in your own self. Even if they do something, you say, oh, maybe you are not seeing properly. You see? So in that way, you focus on working on yourself. Then you save yourself. You save yourself. You do not, focus on identifying who is a pure devotee, who is not a pure devotee, who is a pure devotee, who is not a pure devotee. Understand? You focus on working on yourself to be the example you want to see in others. So if you start taking that step, working, wanting to be exemplary, you see that you are making advancement. At that time, you begin to see devotees on that platform also. When you start making your own advancement based on humility, you begin to see. Humility reveals to you who is actually advancing devotional service, and therefore whose association you should seek. That is how it is. Just consider yourself as the least advanced devotee, and you want to practice pure devotional service, become an example for others. But immediately see the Guru, see Srila Prabhupada, see all those in the Paramparam as pure devotees. You are reading Srila Prabhupada books, you are associating with the pure devotee. You are seeing the immediate gurus, you are seeing that their life is very transparent. They are just a living sacrifice for others. You take shelter of them. Under their guidance, you begin to work carefully among other devotees. See yourself as the least of devotees, who is not interested in finding who is a pure devotee, but whose interest is on how to work on yourself in order to become the exemplary pure devotee that you want to see in others. That is how we do it. If you do that, you will be saved from so many things, because sometimes some people you think that are not very pure, they are highly pure. They are highly pure. And essentially some of their activities might be confusing, but you can't say. Maybe they just have a black spot. A black spot on the moon does not defy the moon. So if you want to focus on seeing the faults of other devotees, you will end up not becoming a devotee yourself. So therefore, the advice is that we should be like the bee who go from flower to flower, gathering the nectar and using it to form a honeycomb, as opposed to the fly who goes from place to place, gathering rubbish and using it to create some nonsense. So we should become bees. We should be bee-like. We should try to see the good qualities in others and try to relate based on that with them. So if you come to the temple and you want to see the good qualities in other devotees, we see enough. But if you want to see how much they are not following, you will also see enough. And you might lose your devotional service. So your focus will be on the good qualities of other devotees. And the more you see the good qualities, the less you will see how much they are not good. And at that time, it will become clear that even if a devotee has a little fault, it's just like a black spot on the moon. It does not defy the moon. black spot on the moon does not defy the moon. Okay? So we should focus on wanting to see the good qualities in other devotees. And we'll get enough to speak. And we'll get enough to associate. And with those same devotees, you will make advancement. But the one who wants to see faults in devotees will go down from there. So we have to be careful on our mental posture, our attitude towards devotees in general. Anybody who is chanting Hare Krishna, for our own good, we should see them as devotees. And we should try to see the good qualities in them and relate with them from those good qualities. On the point of those good qualities, then we see them, more good qualities in them, until we might not even see any bad qualities they have. But conversely, if we want to see bad qualities in devotees, it's only bad qualities we will see. And in the end, we ourselves will not become devotees. So that is it. We should refine our attitude, we should refine our vision, and we should see through the eye of humility and self-examination so that we can make advancements on this path. But rest assured, anybody who has been in this system for a very long time, you should know that the paramparam is keeping the person, but the person has some qualities that are good that maybe others are not seeing. The paramparam is seeing those good qualities and they are fanning the fire of good quality from there, and therefore they are still on track. Otherwise, this is a movement that if you are if you have devious mentality, you can't stay for long before it will be exposed. So when you see devotees who have stayed for long, respect them. And even those who are coming new, respect them, because this is not their first time of practicing devotional services. They perform devotional service in previous life. That's why they are attracted. So anybody who is chanting Hare Krishna, just respect the person, try to see the good qualities in that person, and Krishna will show you more good qualities until we not even see any bad quality in anybody again. Until you arrive at the platform of a Stita Pragya, whereby you will just see yourself as the lowest of devotees, and everyone else is very advanced. Therefore, you want to serve every other devotee that you see. Then you have arrived. The paramparam will sustain you. The paramparam will nourish you. So the Prabhupada himself will personally guide you through all these distractions. Okay?
Okay. Actually, the main thing is, the last chapters we listen that the attachment and the desire, which is that making much us to fall down into become as a pure devotee.
Yes.
That's why I ask how become as a pure devotee. It's
Yes.
not clear.
We have to reduce our attachment to send
No, but it's very difficult to reduce the attachment.
To send gratification, we can reduce.
Controlled by the Maya Devis, the desire and all. It's not easy to control.
But if you have a strong desire to control it, Krishna will make it easy. Will help you. Okay?
Yeah. Okay, Hare Krishna.
Album. So, where are we?
Fourth.
Yes,
Next
four.
fourth.
Just 4. Na karmanam anarambam nanskarmyam puruso asnute na cha sanyasana deva siddhim sama adhigachati. Not by merely abstaining from work can one achieve freedom from reactions. Not by renunciation alone can one attain perfection. So this is the same verse we are talking about. Not by merely renouncing. That the renounced order of life can be accepted upon being purified by the discharge of prescribed form of duties which are laid down just to purify the hearts of materialistic men. Without purification, one cannot attain success by abruptly adopting the fourth order of life, sannyasa. According to the empirical philosophers, simply by adopting sannyasa or retiring from fruitive activities, one at once becomes as good as Narayan. But Lord Krishna does not approve this principle. Without purification of heart, Sannyasa is simply a disturbance in the social order. On the other hand, if someone takes to the transcendental service of the Lord, even without discharging his prescribed duties, whatever he may be, able to advance in the course of his cause is accepted by the Lord. Buddhi yoga. Swapamapi asya dharmasya trayate mahatuvayat. Even a slight performance of such a principle enables one to overcome great difficulties. So, what do you understand by that? Philosophy alone is not enough. Renunciation alone is not enough. You have to renounce and walk in renunciation. To walk in renunciation means you are walking in knowledge that you are not the body, but the spirit, soul, and eternal part and parcel of Krishna. So, to renounce work, I give up work, I'm not working again, without attaining the desired purification of heart. It's a disturbance in society. Artificial renunciation, false, it is tantamount to false renunciation. Yes. It is tantamount to false renunciation. So purification must take place, then renunciation will come automatically. So Krishna's emphasis here is that Arjuna should do his karma. He should do his prescribed duty. That by doing the prescribed duty, which is regulated by the scriptural injunctions, one makes gradual advancement. But if you artificially renounce your prescribed duty, you will fall down. Yes, it is tantamount to falsity, and it will result in total fall down because the desires are there. You are not purified of those unwanted desires. So your renunciation will not hold. You see? So here Krishna is directly telling Arjuna that of these two, the path of Krishna consciousness is better because it does not depend on purifying the senses by a philosophical process. Krishna consciousness itself is the purifying process. And by direct method of devotional service, it is simultaneously easy and sublime. So do your prescribed duty, get purified. And when you become purged of all unwanted desires, you can become a sannyas, you can renounce the world. But if you renounce the world without purification, you are going to just cause a disturbance in society. So Krishna did not approve of it. Therefore, I say purification is needed first on the screen. Without purification, one cannot attain success by abruptly adopting the fourth order of sannyas. Now, when the sannyas can become a disturbance, without purification of hearts, sannyasa is simply a disturbance to the social order. On the other hand, if someone takes to the transcendental service of the Lord, even without discharging the prescribed duty, whatever he may be able to advance in the course is accepted by the Lord. So if you are a devotee, any advancement you make is accepted. It remains permanent. Once you are a devotee, any advancement you make, your sannyasi is to work for the pleasure of the Lord. That is sannyasi for you. But to renounce work is very, very dangerous because it is by doing that work that your purification will come. So Krishna wants Arjuna to work. Okay? So Bhakti is a synthesis, and Niskama Kama is also a synthesis. So don't renounce work, but work in Krishna consciousness. This is Niskama Kama. You work and offer the result to Krishna. Don't be attached to the result. Work as a matter of duty. Krishna will take care of the rest. Understand? Work, do your devotional service, and don't be attached to the result. Krishna will take care of the rest. Okay, so even if it is 1% advancement you make, that will give permanent results. So this is what Krishna is saying. Krishna is not agreeing with Arjuna that Arjuna should renounce work. He said instead, Arjuna should work as a matter of duty. Okay, that is purification is there. Okay, so the Prabhupada states the renounced order of life can be accepted when one has been purified by the discharge of prescribed duty from the duties which are laid down just to purify the hearts of materialistic men. Without purification of heart, sannyasi is simply a disturbance to the social order. On the other hand, if someone takes to the transcendental service of the Lord, even without discharging his prescribed duties, whatever he may be able to advance in the cause is accepted by the Lord. Even a slight performance of such a principle enables one to overcome great difficulties. So those who have given up everything and who are fully devotees, even though they don't do prescribed duties, that devotional service they are doing, it gives them permanent results. So devotional service is glorified here. Now from the next verse, verse 4 to verse 9, Krishna describes the active nature of the soul. Inactivity is not an option. The soul is always active. Therefore, we must always engage in activities. But these activities must be qualified. Qualified by the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, qualified by the direction of Krishna as in Krishna consciousness, qualified by the parampara. We have to act in Krishna consciousness. Okay. One's activities must therefore be directed towards self-purification and self-realization, which are the purposes of performing prescribed duties. Okay. Hare Krishna. Text 5. Nahi kashit shaman api jatu tistati akarma krit karyatehi abasa karma sabaha prakriti jai gunai sabha prakriti jai gunai. All men are forced to act helplessly according to the impulses born of the modes of material nature. Therefore, no one can refrain from doing something, not even for a moment. Somebody want to read the purport?
It is not a question of embodied life, but it is the nature of the soul to be always active. Without the presence of the spirit soul, the material body cannot move. The body is only a dead vehicle to be worked by the spirit soul, which is always active and cannot stop even for a moment. As such, the spirit soul has to be engaged in the good work of Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, it will be engaged in occupations dictated by the luxury energy. In contact with material energy, the spirit soul acquires material modes, and to purify the soul from such infinities, it is necessary to engage in the prescribed duties enjoined in the Sastras. But if the soul is engaged in his natural function of Krishna consciousness, whatever he is able to do is good for him. The Srimad Bhagavatam affirms this. If someone takes to Krishna consciousness, even though he may not follow the prescribed duties in the Shastras or execute the devotional service properly, and even though he may fall down from the standard, there is no loss or evil for him. But if he carries out all the injunctions for purification in the Shastras, what does it avail him if he is not Krishna conscious. So the purificatory process is necessary for reaching this point of Krishna consciousness. Therefore, seance or any purificatory process is to help reach the ultimate goal of becoming Krishna conscious, without which everything is considered a failure. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So in other words, whatever we are doing, if it does not bring us to the point of Krishna consciousness, it's a failure. If we are very expert in doing Varnashram activities, doing this ritual, doing that ritual, doing that ritual, doing that ritual, as enjoined in the Sastri, and if that does not bring us to the point of Krishna consciousness, then it is a waste of time. So whatever we are doing should bring us to the point of Krishna consciousness. And for the fact that the soul is by nature always active, it cannot stop working. It must be engaged in activities. So the safe way is to engage in activities that are in line with pleasing Krishna. If you do not engage your body and your senses in glorifying Krishna or pleasing Krishna, the senses will engage you. Your mind and your senses will engage you in something other than that. You will start contemplating on different things, and you will see that those 8 stages of order will come to you. At a point, you will lose your memory. Your intelligence will get big with that, and you will fall down. So this is the point. The point is that the soul is by nature active. Now, it is not a question of embodied life, but it is the nature of the soul to be always active. Now, without the presence of the spirit soul, the material body cannot move. The body is made up of inferior energy, and the superior energy is the soul. And it is the soul that activates the inferior energy. Yes, every inferior energy must be activated by superior energy. So the soul activates the body. The body is made of inferior energies, while the soul is a superior energy that activates the body. So without the presence of the spirit soul, the material body cannot move. As such, the spirit soul had to be engaged in the good work of Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, it will be engaged in occupational occupation dictated by the illusory energy. If you don't serve God, you will serve your senses, you will serve Maya. You see? So in chapter 2, Krishna told Arjuna, Karmani Evadika, say your eligibility, your adhikara on the yoga ladder is not renunciation of work, but action as a Kshatriya. Because the soul must act, the Vedas prescribe duties, to purify the living entity. Thus, by acting according to Sastri, in a detached mood, acting but not being attached to the fruit of the action, or offering the fruits of the action to Krishna, in knowledge of the difference between the self and the body, one becomes elevated to the Jnana platform. When you do Niskama activities, they will churn out knowledge. When you act in detachment, knowledge will result, because you'll be elevated to the mode of goodness gradually. And from the good mode of goodness, real knowledge develops. From the mode of goodness, real knowledge develops. So by acting in these Varnashram definitions and qualifications, acting according to the boundaries of Varnashram, then you will be evolved, you will be awoken to a higher reality. And there will be purification, and you will see things more clearly. Jnana Sanjayate Kama. So only then does one have the option to give up prescribed duty. When knowledge comes in, then you can give up prescribed duties and say you are renouncing. Instead, the person renounces prescribed duties and accepts sannyasi, though his heart is still not purified, he will find himself in difficulty. Krishna next describes such an unfortunate renunciant. One who renounces his duty without getting purified in the heart. His situation is unfortunate. And the next verse will reveal that to us. 6. Karmendriyani samyamya saaste manasasmaram indriyatam vimukatma mintya shara sa ushyate is a mintya shara. Pop out translation. Huh? Where is it? Translation. One who restrains the senses and organs of actions, but whose mind dwells on sense objects, certainly deludes himself and is called a pretender. Okay? Those who renounce without purification, they are pretenders. Read the purport.
There are many pretenders who refuse to work in Krishna consciousness, but make a show of meditation while actually dwelling within the mind upon sense enjoyment. Such pretenders may also speak on dry philosophy in order to bluff sophisticated followers. But according to this verse, these are the greatest cheaters. For sense enjoyment, one can act in any capacity of the social order. But if one follows the rules and regulations of his particular status, he can make gradual progress in purifying his existence. But he who makes a show of being a yogi while actually searching for the object of sense gratification must be called the greatest cheater. Even though he sometimes speaks of philosophy, his knowledge has no value, because the effect of such a sinful man's knowledge are taken away by the illusory energy of the Lord. Such a pretender's mind is always impure, and therefore his show of yogi meditation has no value whatsoever. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. And the world is full of such people now. The world is full of such people. Even in India. What to talk of other places? But in India also there are many people who have taken, who are wearing saffron clothes, and they see that respect is given to sadhus. They wear the saffron clothes, and because they see that people give donations to sadhus, they wear saffron clothes and pretend to be sadhus. And they go around collecting donation. And after they collect their donation, they go and remove their sadhu clothes. They go and enjoy. They go and gratify the senses with the donation they collect. So sadhuism become a business. Sadhuism is a business. They collect enough. People give them because they know that if you give to sadhu, you get purification and you get blessing, especially women. They give so that they can get blessing of good children, business, prosperity. They give to sadhus. And people know this, so they go and dress as sadhus. Form like, but they don't follow any rules and regulations. There is no question of anything. They pretend, wear the garments, and go around to beg from door to door. So there were even cases where people like that, they go in the daytime, they don't speak philosophy to the people they beg for. They just ask them casual things. How are you? How is your business doing? How are you faring? What is your plan for this summer? Okay, oh, this next week I'll be going to some place for pilgrimages and that. By next week, they will come back because they already know your schedule. You are going for pilgrimage. They break your house and collect your properties. They came in the garb of sadhus only to find out about your schedule so that they can come and steal. It even gets to that level. And how much more it is modernized here in this part of the world in some ways. There are so many cheaters in the garb of holy men. They call it church business. There's serious church business now in this part of the world. You just dress like a holy man and you pose as somebody who is very powerful. You know the mind, what people need. We need money, we need business. So you start promising these things very, authoritatively. And if you follow this, you will get this, you will get that, you get this, blah, 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 blah. They dress as holy men. At the end of the day, when everybody will do rascals, they close the door and they count the money. Say, today business was lucrative. We collected this much, we collected that much, big foolish people. They go and buy things for self gratification. Buy nice suit, buy the best of whatever, and try to use it and come on next Sunday. They are there waiting for you. So this is going on. The world is fraught with people like that. They claim to be very powerful, whereas they have no potency, because real potency comes from purity. And they are breaking all the principles, and they pose themselves as representatives of God. And they are collecting money in the name of God. And it has become a lucrative business. It's called God business. And this is going on. If things are so difficult for you, just open a church, turn one of your room into a church, or turn your backyard into a church, and start talking with loudspeaker. Talk and demonstrate and do as if you are seeing God. Do as if you are seeing God face to face. And now God is saying this, God is saying. There are so many innocent people who will come around. And from among them, there are those who have money to start making. So this business is going on like anything. And it's called church business. So one who has no purification but is pretending to be renounced is a cheater. This is the purport of this verse. And more of it is given in the next verses, 2 verses. Which verse are we? Verse 8 or verse 7?
Verse 7.
7 verse.
7
verse.
Yes.
Okay. So Krishna tells Arjuna that if work is renounced without adhikara, or the qualification or requisite purity of heart, his mind will dwell on sense objects because his heart is not yet pure. He will delude himself thinking, I'm a renunciant. The Sanskrit word for false actor is mithya chara. Mithya means false and achara means activities. Krishna is saying your activities will not match your renounced dress, and you will be a pretender. Such a person is not qualified to receive the Lord's mercy. Not only Arjuna, but all of us to act according to our eligibility. As Arjuna learned of his eligibility from the spiritual master, we should similarly understand our own eligibility from our Guru. Krishna next compares an attached sannyasi and a detached householder. So this next verse is glorifying householders. Verse 7. Yastu indriyani manasa niyamya ravate Arjuna karmendriyai karma yogam asaktaha sa visisyate. On the other hand, he who controls the senses by the mind and engages his activities, his active organs in works of devotion without attachment is by far superior. Somebody should read the translation.
Instead of becoming a pseudo-transcendentalist for the sake of wanton living and sense enjoyment, it is far better to remain in one's own business and execute the purpose of life, which is to get free from material bondage and enter into the kingdom of God. The prime Swata Gati, or goal of self-interest, is to reach vision. The whole institution of Vana and Ashrama is designed to help us reach this goal of life. A householder can also reach this destination by regulated service in Krishna consciousness. For self-realization, one can live a controlled life as prescribed in the Shastras and continue carrying out his business without attachment, and in that way make progress. A sincere person who follows this method is far better situated than the false pretender who adopts show bottle spiritualism to cheat the innocent public. A sincere sweeper in the street is far better than the charlatan meditator who meditates only for the sake of making a living. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. A sincere sweeper in the street is far better than the charlatan meditator who meditates only for the sake of making a living. Prabhupada is saying, a sincere sweeper, yes, in the street is far better than the charlatan meditator who meditates only for the sake of making a living. So if a householder is following his rules and regulations in his ashram, it is better than a sweeper, a sincere sweeper. But even a sincere sweeper is better than the charlatan meditator who meditates only for making a living, who is doing church business or sadhuism, sadhu business. Just dress like a sadhu, and people will see you as a sadhu. They will give you donation. At the end of the day, you remove your sadhu cloth. You enjoy tomorrow morning. You dress as a sadhu again. You go out. It's a big business, but a sincere sweeper is better than such a person. So how much more a householder who is sincerely doing his prescribed duties, working and giving some results to propagating Krishna conscious activity is far better. So that is it. It is not the dress, it's the activity you do. So, oh, best among the householders, all the householders or those who are trying to become householders, your ashram is glorious. So be a sincere householder who does his own work. Don't be too attracted to what the sannyasis enjoy. When sannyasi comes, everybody say, hey, sannyas, bow down, bring envelope, white envelope. You also want to collect envelope, so you go and try to be a sannyas when you have no control your urges for sannyas. You will fall down, disgrace yourself. So it's better to be a sincere street sweeper and let everybody know that you are a sweeper, a street sweeper, and they drop something for you, one CD for you, and you use it to. It's better. You are better situated than one who is a pretender. So that is it. Work without attachments. Therefore, Krishna is saying, Arjuna, do your prescribed duty. Do not try to become a renunciant. That is not what I meant when I said Buddhi yoga. I told you do Buddhi yoga, but I didn't mean you should renounce work. Do your work and offer the fruit of your work to me as a sacrifice to me. Don't give up. You are a Kshatriya. You are meant to change the dress of this people. Fight. Fight. Arjuna was still reluctant. Why? Why are you making things difficult for me? When you have told me that Buddhi yoga is better than Kama yoga, you are trying to engage me still in Kama yoga. I like to do Buddhi yoga. I don't want to fight. I want to go meditation. Say, no, fight. Arjuna, do your prescribed duty. Even if it is done imperfectly, it's better than doing another person's duty. Go and do your duty. This is what Krishna meant. Okay, so here, this verse describes the dutiful householder as being better situated than the Mityachara sannyasi. In his purpose, La Prabhupada glorifies the Varnashram system because it leads to conditions, so it leads a condition so gradually towards self-realization. Because there will be purification when you are doing your prescribed duty. You'll be evolving. Okay? Verse 8. Niyatam kuru karma tvam karma jayohi akarmana sarira yatra pishate na prasidyet akarmana. Perform your prescribed duty, for action is better than inaction. A man cannot even maintain his physical body without work. So somebody want to read the purport? Krishna is telling Arjuna, work for you, work for you with your adhikara for karma is better than renunciation. For you. He's not speaking third person, he's talking to him directly. For you, work. That is your adhikara. That is your eligibility, is to work. Okay? It's better for you, it's better for you to work than renunciation. You are not on the Jnana platform in which you can effectively renounce your prescribed duties. Arjuna is concerned that by working, he will develop material attachments and desires. He, just prior to this great battle, especially fears the reactions that will follow such work. So to differentiate ordinary work, which entangles one in the material world, from karma yoga, work that carries one towards liberation, Krishna speaks the next verse. Verse 9. Jagyata karmano ayatra lokoyam karma bandhana tad artam karma kunteya mukta sangha samachara. Mukta sangha samachara. Work done as a sacrifice for Vishnu has to be performed, otherwise work binds one, work causes bondage in the material world. Therefore, O son of Kunti, perform your prescribed duty for his satisfaction, and in that way, you will always remain free from bondage. So the differentiation between ordinary work that brings simple reactions and work that purifies one on the part of self-realization is given here. That work should be done as a sacrifice for Krishna. Work should be done as a sacrifice for God. Work should be done as yoga. It should be karma yoga, but not ordinary karma yoga, but niskama karma yoga. Not ordinary niskama karma yoga, but Bhagavad Arpita niskama karma yoga. That work which is meant for satisfying God. That is the type of work. So work as a matter of duty for God's satisfaction. Okay. Therefore, that is what is prescribed by Krishna for Arjuna here. Otherwise, work causes bondage. Now, verse 3 to 8 have hinted at niskama karma, work with both knowledge and detachment. Niskama karma, in other words, combines karma and gyan. It combines karma and gyan. Niskama karma is the antithesis. Is the synthesis. Is the equilibrium. Is the equilibrium point between karma and gyan. Niskama karma is the equilibrium point between karma and gyan. Is the point of harmony between karma and gyan. It's called niskama. Niskama karma. Okay, niskama karma allows a soul to be active, but in a detached way, so that he is protected from material entanglement. You are working, but you are not free. You are not entangled by the reaction of your work, because you are offering the results to Krishna. This is called niskama. Higher still, as stated in verse 9, is that means higher than niskama karma, as stated in verse 9, is when one's knowledge increases to include knowledge of Vishnu, and the detached activities one then performs are offered to him with devotion, Niskama Karma is meant to lead to Bhakti. Okay? So Niskama Karma is just like the beginning stage of Bhakti. But when Niskama Karma matures, the activities are now offered to Vishnu. You are working, but the result is for Vishnu. You work without fruitive attachment. There were some disciples of Srila Prabhupada who were working like that. They wanted to renounce work, but Srila Prabhupada said, no, work, but collect the salary. We can use it for the preaching activities. So they were doing like that. When they work at the end of the month, they will collect all the salary and bring it to Prabhupada. Then they use it to push it. Then at the point, Prabhupada said, no need for that. He said, no need for that again. So this kind of work is, work as a sacrifice for Vishnu. The question arises, what if a person is overly attached to material life and cannot perform Niskama Karma? What happens? To explain this, Krishna now describes the yoga ladder, beginning with the lowest rung and gradually moving higher. The next 7 verses, verse 10 to verse 16, describe the progressive stages of the yoga ladder from Karma Kanda to Karma Yoga. The next 7 verses, they describe the progressive stages of the yoga ladder. The next 7 verses. Yes, the next 7 verses, verses 10 to verse 16, they describe the progressive stage of the yoga ladder from Karma Kanda to Karma Yoga. Every soul in the material world attempts either subtly or grossly to position himself, not Krishna, as the enjoyer and controller. This is true regardless of the body the soul inhabits. The striving of ignorant animals for pleasure, according to their limited capacity, is the same as that of spiritually undeveloped humans who, in their attempts to taste sense pleasure, act in ignorance. The Vedas and their supplements contain 100,000 lakhs of verses. One verse equals 100,000 of this. A great majority discuss fruitive activities, and only a small percentage discuss jnana kanda. Somebody's mic is on, which leads the living entity towards transcendental knowledge and ultimately to an understanding of the Supreme Personality of God. The Vedic culture provides a system by which the materially attached person can satisfy his material desires, yet gradually become purified. Therefore, such a high percentage of Vedic information centers on Karma Kanda. Karma Kanda. This Karma Kanda we are talking, it reaches people of all levels. From wherever you are, you can connect to the sockets of transcendence. From wherever you are. Karma Kanda give provisions for everyone to connect to transcendence through the type of activities they are doing. Add God to your activities. Add some regulations to your activities wherever you are. This is Karma Kanda. Wherever you are, even as a dog eater, there is a provision for you to follow. There are some rules and regulations for you to follow in the dog eating act, so that you can gradually evolve from dog to
Hare Krishna Prabhu, kindly off the iPhone mic, the mute. Can you mute it? The iPhone mute the mic.
my
Because
mic.
it's disturbing. No, the iPhone. There is somebody's iPhone is written. Can you mute that mic?
Okay, let me look for the person.
Yes. Because there's so much noise is coming unnecessary. We can't hear proper.
Okay.
He has a wash, so maybe you can mute it.
Let me look for the person first. iPhone. Okay. This is iPhone. I catch the iPhone. Is it muted? Muted.
Yes, he's muted now.
It's muted.
Yes. Okay.
iPhone is muted. Muted.
Yes, it's continue.
Where am I? I want to.
You want me to say something? Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Please, I'm Evelyn. I'm in the Bhakti class at
Okay. Okay. You want to say something? Okay, you are the one. Please, please mute. You should mute so that the noise from there will not interrupt our flow. Okay. Okay. So I was reading something that to become situated under the protection of such a system, one must agree to regulate its enjoyment by the descending authority of Vedic formulas. So the Karmakanda activities, Karmakanda regulations are brought in to the general populace who are just living anyhow, that they can connect to them. If you are even a dog eater, there are regulations for dog eaters. So that they can gradually become goat eaters, then from goat eater to fowl eater, from fowl eater to insect eater, from insect eater to vegetarians, from vegetarian to pescatarian. Gradually, there is a provision like that. The Lord is so merciful that He considers your situation, wherever you are, even if you are a prostitute. There are rules and regulations for prostitutes. How to do your prostitutional work in a way that until you become stick to only one person, and from that one person to marriage, and from that marriage to so there are regulations like that. If you follow them perfectly, you will gradually be elevated. So that is the costless mercy of the Lord, extended costless mercy of the Lord, that to become situated under the protection of such a system, one must agree to regulate its enjoyment by the descending authority of Vedic formulas. One following that system does not act simply as it desires. His mood of subservience to God's order in the form of the Vedas, even though his purpose is to attain sense pleasure, is purifying, for he is following Krishna's system. This is a mechanism that is provided by Krishna himself to reach them wherever they are. Provided they regulate their activities with those injunctions, they will gradually be elevated. So by following this Vedic system of sacrifice, one also implicitly accepts the principle that he is not independent. Rather, his enjoyment depends upon the satisfaction of higher authorities. Okay? Okay, this is the beauty of this system. Sacrifices recommended in Vedic literature for satisfaction of the demigods are a sort of inducement, to the sacrificers to realize that the existence of higher authorities. Such followers of the Vedas are called Karmakandis. Even if you are a demigod worshipper, these Karmakanda activities, their regulations, they will reach you. If you are worshiping a particular demigod, this is how to worship this particular demigod. Because worshiping demigod means you have accepted a higher authority. Though the demigods are not the highest, but they are higher authority. That sense of accepting authority is your qualification. You have accepted a higher authority. You have accepted to gratify your senses under the guidance and regulations of higher authorities. So by satisfying the demigod, gradually you can evolve from there. The sense of accepting authority is there, and that is your glory. So the Vedic regulations, the Karmakanda regulations will reach you. Then you connect there. If you are worshiping the demigod, this is how to worship the demigod. After worshiping the demigods, or after offering to Krishna, you can give the remnant to the demigod. So there are regulations like that. It's a whole mechanism that is provided by Krishna to everyone. From wherever you are, you can connect. Gradually, by following the Vedic system, one may accept an eternal transcendental objective to replace his temporary fruitive goals. With that acceptance, one abandons the designation of karma kandi and becomes a karma yogi. By properly performing his appropriate duties, the karma yogi will gradually move from sakama karma yoga, attachment to work, attached work, to niskama karma yoga, detached work on the platform of Gyan. He can then follow the yoga ladder upwards, towards liberation, Paramatma realization, and finally, devotional service to Krishna. His association and desires will dictate how far he actually climbs on his step-by-step ascension of the yoga ladder. The Bhagavad-Gita describes this gradual ascension in chapters 3 through 6. So, in addition to the step-by-step process, Krishna explains what takes place when, either from the beginning of the practices or on any rung of the ladder, one attains the association of a devotee and comes to accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead and oneself as Krishna's servant. Okay? So this is it. It is very, very important to know this. This is a very, very important aspect. This particular test is very, very important. That's why we are reading all this about it. It is very, very important that there is a system, a mechanism that will include everyone. And in the next few verses, that yoga ladder will be described, and we see where we are. Okay, on the screen, what you are saying is that without the presence of the spirit soul, we have read this, the material body cannot move. The body is only a dead vehicle to be walked by the spirit soul, which is always active and cannot stop even for a moment. As such, the spirit soul has to be engaged in the good work of Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, it will be engaged in occupation dictated by the illusory energy. Now, without Krishna consciousness, everything is a failure. So the purificatory process is necessary for reaching this point of Krishna consciousness. Therefore, sannyasa or any purificatory process is to help reach the ultimate goal of becoming Krishna conscious, without which everything is considered a failure. The greatest cheater, but one who makes a show of being a yogi while actually searching for the object of sense gratification, must be called the greatest cheater, even though he sometimes speaks of philosophy. His knowledge has no value because the effect of such a sinful man's knowledge are taken away by the illusory energy of the Lord. How is a detached householder better? The prime swatagati or goal of self-interest is to reach Vishnu. The whole institution of Vana and Ashram is designed to help us reach this goal of life. A householder can also reach this destination by regulated service in Krishna consciousness. For self-realization, one can live a controlled life as prescribed in the Sastras and continue carrying out his business without attachment, and in that way make progress. A sincere person who follows this method is far better situated than the false pretender who adopts soul-bottled spiritualism to cheat the innocent public. A sincere sweeper in the street is far better than the charlatan meditator who meditates only for the sake of making a living. Two examples of pretenders. There are many. One, pseudo-meditators who misrepresent themselves as belonging to high parentage, and two, great professional men who falsely post that they have sacrificed everything for the sake of advancement in spiritual life. Polluted propensities have to be cleared. Anyone who is in the material world is certainly possessed of the impure propensity for lording it over material nature, or in other words, for sense gratification. Such polluted propensities have to be cleared. It has to be cleared. Therefore, one has to walk in Krishna consciousness to satisfy Krishna or Vishnu. And while performing such activities, one is in the liberated stage. This is the greatest art of doing work. And in the beginning, this process requires very expert guidance. Mariada, the word Mariada means rules and regulations. Rules and regulations, Mariada. Therefore, there should be Mariada. There should be regulations. Okay. Now, verse 10. Sahajagya Praja Astva Purovasha Prajapati Anena Prasavisyaba Siddhi. So Anena Prasavisyadam Esavostu Istakamadu. In the beginning of creation, the Lord of all creation sent forth generations of men and demigods along with sacrifices for Vishnu, and bless them by saying, "Be thou happy by this Jagya sacrifice, because his performance will bestow upon you all desirable things." Papa, somebody should read the Papa for us.
The material creation by the Lord of creatures, Vishnu, is a chance home back to Godhead. All living entities within the material creation are conditioned by material nature because of their forgetfulness of their relationship to Vishnu or Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Vedic principles are to help us understand this eternal relation, as it is stated in the Bhagavad-Gita, the Daicha Sava Aham Iva Viya. The Lord says that the purpose of the Vedas is to understand Him. In the Vedic hymns, it is said, Bhakti. Therefore, the Lord of the living entities is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu. In the Srimad Bhagavatam also, Srila Sukadev Goswami describes the Lord as Pati in so many ways. The Prajapati is Lord Vishnu, and he is the Lord of all living creatures, all worlds and all beauties, and the protector of everyone. The Lord created this material world to enable the conditioned souls to learn how to perform yagna, sacrifice, for the satisfaction of Vishnu, so that while in the material world, they can live very comfortably without anxiety, and after finishing the present material body, they can enter into the kingdom of God. That is the whole program for the conditioned soul. By performance of yagna, the conditioned souls gradually become Krishna conscious and become godly in all respects. In the age of Kali, the Sankirtan Yagna, the chanting of the names of God, is recommended by the Vedic scriptures, and this transcendental system was introduced by Lord Chaitanya for the deliverance of all men in this age. Sankirtan Yagna and Krishna consciousness go well together. Lord Krishna, in his devotional form as Lord Chaitanya, is mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam as follows, with special reference to the Sankirtan Yagna. In this age of Kali, people who are endowed with sufficient intelligence will worship the Lord, who is accompanied by his associates by performance of Sankirtan Yagna. Other yagnas prescribed in the Vedic literatures are not easy to perform in this age of Kali, but the Sankirtan Yagna is easy and sublime for all purposes, as recommended in Bhagavad-Gita also. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So you can see that this is what we are explaining. And this particular verse is the beginning of the Jagya process that is being offered by the Lord. Now Krishna now begins to explain the Vedic Karma Kanda system. Karma Kanda system. Madhusnaya Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, but I wanted to go back small than the last text 9, that how we can define the duties. They're mentioning that the do the work. When we see the text 8 and 9, there is a, we cannot maintain, even one cannot even maintain one physical body without the work.
Yes.
Okay, so it's no way that we can avoid to do the work. Okay, but how we can define to the work, this is our good for us to engage or to move forward to the spiritual life more, or this one is good for us and this one is not good for us, like positively and negatively.
And that's why the spiritual master's guidance is needed.
But sometimes spiritual masters is not available also. So what we can do? It's some movement is like that. It's not easy to go to the spiritual masters, or in emergency we have to take a decisions. So what the best way to can justify that one?
The spiritual master is not physically available, and you have trust in his representative, you can still share your mind with his representative and hear his contribution to that. But the basic thing is that we need the spiritual master to give us clear direction whenever there is a little confusion. So that is the purpose of getting the spiritual master, one of the purposes of getting the spiritual master. If he's not there, his representative can act on his behalf. Or you find out what Srila Prabhupada say about that, because Srila Prabhupada is our Jaga Guru, and he has said everything about everything. So you can make some research and find out what Srila Prabhupada said about such a particular situation, like the way you are thinking at that particular time, your posture, your general attitude, the type of work that you should do, that will be classified as the best for you. So you make confirmation on the, after all, the spiritual master, if you are actually very serious about knowing which direction, even if the spiritual master is not physically available, the super soul can dictate to you also, the Lord in the heart. If you become very determined to know about something, you think about it, meditate on it seriously, you chant your round and you meditate on it and you take rest, the super soul talk to you, give you direction from within. Then when you come, you meet your guru, the guru will confirm it. Or if the guru's representative confirm it, and it's the same thing as what the super soul tell you, go ahead. Or you come to class and you come and hear the same thing, you take it as the direction of the super soul and go ahead. So this guidance is always available.
Okay, Hare Krishna.
Yes, it's always available. Hare Krishna.
Okay.
But for a devotee, the super soul is there for you.
Okay, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Now, text 11, because these are related verses. Devan Bhavayatanena Te Deva Bhavayan Tuva Parasparam Bhavayanta Sreya Param Evapsyata. The demigods, being pleased by sacrifices, will also please you, thus nourishing one another. There will reign general prosperity for all. Okay? So from wherever you are, if you have not gotten the full purification, then you operating on the platform of profit and or reward and punishment, then certain demigods you are recommended to worship. They can gradually also supply you what you need, because demigods are representatives of Krishna. Depending on your level of advancement in devotional service, if you are a new person who is in the ocean of Kamakanda or Vikama activities, you can worship any demigod, accepting the sense of authority, then you gradually evolve from there. Then gradually, when you become ripe, the Lord in the heart we direct you to meet his external representative, the spiritual master, who will plant the seed of devotion and begin to water it, and it begin to grow from there. In all stages, ultimately, you need the mercy of the pure devotees to take to Bhakti. So Krishna will see your level of evolution of consciousness and make provisions available for you to connect to the next level. So these things, these activities are given, these Jagya sacrifices are given by the Lord, so that by doing those sacrifices, you will get reciprocation from demigods, and you will get reciprocation from the Supreme Lord, and gradually you'll be elevated. The whole purpose is to gradually elevate the conditioned soul. That is it. Gradual elevation. Gradual elevation. That let's read it as 12 also first before we read some other thing. Istamboga hibo deva dasyanti yagyabam vita tai datam aprada yo yobumte stena evasa. That in charge of the various necessities of life, the demigods, being satisfied by the performance of Jagya, supply all necessities to man. But he who enjoys these gifts without offering them to the demigods in return is certainly a thief. A thief is punished by the state. The thieves who live within this world without repaying the demigods for the amenities they have used are punished by Yamaraj. Followers of the Vedic system, even though they have material desires, are not punished. Rather, they are elevated by their submission to the Vedic system. The Vedic system is coming from Krishna, mind you. The Vedic system limits sense enjoyment to that which is attained through Vedic formulas. Despite a follower's selfish desires, his adherence to Vedic injunctions is a step towards giving up his envy of Krishna and his sense of being independent of him. Envy and sense of false independence are the two binding factors. Envy of the Lord and the sense of false independence. Nobody is independent. Nobody is independent. You are breathing in air to survive and you are thinking you are independent. You are marching air to your feet and you are thinking you are independent. You are using the sunlight and you are thinking you are independent. You are eating all the things provided from the earth and you are thinking you are independent. You are drinking water and you are thinking you are independent. You are still using this bodily mechanism, this limited form given to you, and making use of the legs and the hands and the stomach and the genitals and the mouth and the nose and the ears and the eyes, and you think you are still independent. That false sense of independence and envy of the Lord, these are two binding factors. So when one adheres to the regulations provided in the Vedic system, it automatically, gradually makes progress towards the ultimate goal. It becomes free from envy and that false sense of independence. So this is the beauty of following the Vedic system. Arjuna, however, could think, I don't need jagyas, demigods, and opulent necessities of life. Nor must I perform jagyas to live. I will go to the forest and live by begging. I won't take from the demigods, so I won't be sinful by not offering jagyas to them. Not only won't I be a thief, but I won't take part in this ghastly sinful warfare. Krishna replies in the next two verses. Krishna replies in the next two verses. Verse 13. Jagya sistanti no santo Mushyanti sarvakil bisai Gunjate tetu agam papa Ye pachanti atmakaranat. The devotees of the Lord are released from all kinds of sins because they eat food which is offered first for sacrifice. Others who prepare food for personal sense enjoyment, verily eat only sin.
Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Please, it's 12 o'clock. Some of us also have service at the temple, so I don't know what the time will be closing because I'm home and I don't know the time I have to get to the temple also. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Those who are expert in stopping at the right exact time, but are not expert in starting at the exact time. All glories to you. Very expert at starting late, but stopping exactly at the right time.
Prabhu, please forgive. Forgive. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. That is okay. So if that is the case, then we will, from this verse, we will stop now. We can stop because this verses need some elaboration. So we stop at verse 13. We stop at verse 13, but before we stop, let's show some of the slides. Now, chapter 3, Kama Yoga topic, from Kama Kanda to Kama Yoga. This is where we are. That the purpose of the creation, according to the capsules on the board, the Lord created this material world to enable the conditioned souls to learn how to perform jagya, sacrifices, for the satisfaction of Vishnu, so that while in the material world, they can live very comfortably without anxiety. And after finishing the present material body, they can enter into the kingdom of God. That is the whole program for the conditioned soul. By performance of jagya, the conditioned soul gradually becomes Krishna conscious and become godly in all respects. In capsule, 2 results of sacrifices: fulfilling all material desires, purify the heart. Oh, my distance is so dark, I can't see it again. Okay. Then what is the chief purpose of all jagyas? It is stated also in the Bhagavad-Gita that Krishna himself is the beneficiary of all kinds of jagyas. Bhaktaram jagya tapasam sarva loka maheswaram. Therefore, ultimate satisfaction of the jagya party is the chief purpose of all jagya. When these jagyas are perfectly performed, naturally the demigods in charge of the different departments of supply are pleased, and therefore, there is no scarcity in the supply of natural products. Now, a society of thieves. If we forget the purpose of human life and simply take supplies from the agents of the Lord for sense gratification and become more and more entangled in material existence, which is not the purpose of creation, certainly we become thieves, and therefore we are punished by the laws of nature. A society of thieves can never be happy because they have no aim in life. Okay, so anyway, that is this. This is where we stop. Is there a separate need to worship the demigod? When the Lord Krishna is worshipped, the demigods, who are different limbs of the Lord, are also automatically worshipped. Therefore, there is no separate need to worship the demigods. So as devotees, this is the conclusion for today. We are talking about this demigod worship and kamakanda. It is for the general mass of people whose activities are unregulated. This kamakanda is given to them to connect them from wherever they are, not for devotees. As a devotee, you are already beyond this stage. Therefore, the question comes, is there a separate need to worship the demigods, even as devotees? The answer is no. Why? Because when Lord Krishna is worshipped, the demigods, who are different limbs of the Lord, are also automatically worshipped. Therefore, there is no separate need to worship the demigods. And that is where we quoted that verse. Yata tharo mula nisheshani na. Tripianti tat skanda bujo upasaka. Prano paharak chaya tendriyanam. Tataiva sarva aranam achuteja. That by pouring water to the root of a plant, the leaves and the branches are automatically nourished. Similarly, by sending food to the stomach, all the senses and bodily limbs are enlivened. By the same token, by worshiping the Supreme Personality of Godhead, all the demigods are automatically satisfied because they are different parts, they are different limbs of the Supreme Lord. So for a devotee, for all of you, there is no need to separately worship demigods. Get it clear. We are talking and elaborating on Karma Kanda, not for you. It's for those who are less than devotees, who are not yet connected to this boat of transcendence. Those who are vikamis, who are performing painful activities, ugra karma, they are the ones that are being referred to here. Not you. Not you, or you get it? Not you. Not you, or you get it? Not you. It's not you. It's not you devotees. You are devotees. Understand? Whether you are a Bhakta or not, you are a devotee. Very soon you're going to take initiation. So it's not you. This Karma Kanda session is not for you. It's for Vikamis. Okay? For you, you don't need to worship any demigod separately. The demigods will automatically supply you your needs because you are a devotee. You are watching the root. So all devotees, don't worship demigods separately. Worship Krishna, and everything else will be supplied to you. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. On this note, we can stop here so that we can respect everybody's feelings and not overflow. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Yeah, see you next Saturday. Hare Krishna. See you in the temple and see you next Saturday. Hare Krishna. Prabhupada ki.
Jai.
And also come with part of your, you all come with part of your school fees. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. So the message is clear.
Aleukem na tha to.
Go Ranga. We can log out. You can go now. You are free.